everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about something very exciting which happened yesterday in VCT EMEA playoffs, and that is that Guild finally qualified for something! This is something that is so exciting in my opinion, and I wanted to just kind of look at the overall story of this team because I feel like this is such a deserved qualification for Guild Esports to finally make it to a Masters event, because this team have constantly been on the precipice of doing something fantastic and have always just slightly been beaten out by another team, and now it's their time. Guild have been around in Valorant for quite some time now. Their first foray into VCT was Stage 1 Challengers 1 back in 2021, and the roster was Bonka, Yassine, Leo, Draken, and Safe, and they had the coach Barbar back then as well. And 3 of those names you'll recognize as still being on this roster today. That same roster played in Challengers 3, where they came in the top 4, thus qualifying them for Masters 1. Now, the reason I don't count Masters 1 when I say that Guild finally qualified for something is because Masters 1 was still domestic. We were still in the throes of COVID back then. Remember that? And so it wasn't like an international LAN event like we started to see when we finally got to Reykjavik for Masters 2. However, in Masters 1, they did make it into the playoffs, but they got eliminated in the semifinals by Heretics in an 0-2 loss. They came second in Stage 2 Challengers 1, but when they got into the playoffs, they failed to make it out of the group stage after losing a decider to Oxygen Esports in a 1-2 loss. Stage 3 Challengers 1 is maybe one of the more painful experiences for Guild, just because they had a really good upper bracket run. They beat BDS, they beat Fnatic, they finally lost to Ascend, and then they got all the way to the lower bracket finals, which, by the way, just a side note, lower bracket finals are always the most fun game in an entire double elimination bracket. Regardless, they got there, and then they were finally eliminated by G2 in a 2-3 loss. Now, the really sad thing about Stage 3 for Guild is that, yes, they did amazing in the, the regular season, in the normal stage, but as soon as we got into the playoffs, they had a bit of a rough run because they faced Gambit in the upper bracket round 2, which, fair enough, that's going to be your toughest opponent. Gambit ended up going on and winning that Masters event, so if you're going to lose to anyone, it may as well be them. They went down into the lower bracket, they beat Fireflux, but then they got knocked out in the next round. So even though they had a really, really great time in Stage 3, playoffs meant that they just didn't come that close to Masters qualification. And then it's like, okay, you've been through all of that. You're looking like a really solid team. You haven't quite made it to one of the international events, but it's okay. Last chance qualifiers are here. They came second. They came second in the LCQs. They got all the way to the end, and then Team Liquid were just like, no, motherfuckers, we're going to Champions. And along the way, Guild beat teams like Supermassive Blaze, G2, OXG, all teams who have caused them problems in the past and come out on top. And in all of this time, they didn't change their roster at all. They committed to this one roster. I think probably, okay, I haven't actually checked, but I suspect that probably almost all of those teams that came out above them at some point or another went through roster changes throughout the course of the 2021 season, and Guild stuck to developing theirs. For 2022, they picked up Russ, Trex, and Coldamenta. They kept Safe and Leo, and they kept the coach Barber. So those are the 3 names that you will have recognized still there from the very beginning. They qualified straight into Stage 1 challenges by coming first in the open qualifier, and it feels a little bit like how Stage 3 versus Stage 3 playoffs was. They just kind of had a really unremarkable Stage 1. They came 3rd in their group. They didn't get very far in the playoffs. And yes, we're in new meta, new roster that are going to need some time to synergize and really figure each other out. But it was just sort of like, yeah, we're good, just not quite good enough. They lost 0-2 to Mech, former Gambit, and then 0-2 to Team Liquid for a pretty fast elimination in the Stage 1 playoffs. But Stage 2, a whole other story. They came first in their group, 4-1, a +30 map differential, and then the playoffs, which we just saw start this weekend, They had a fantastic win against Mech, which is what has qualified them into the Masters event. They took Mech's map off of them really impressively. Leo especially playing fantastically in that. Just the way he played Sova is so diligent. And then they go into their map pick of Fracture, which was definitely a lot more tussly. There was more of a backwards and forwards. It didn't look like there was a really strong, lead by any of these two teams, but we saw some fantastic play from Safe, who popped the hell off on Chamber, and Trex as well, who was doing fantastically, and ultimately led them to taking that series. I just think it's so exciting and so cool because I think the Guild have spent so much of their time in Valorant always being the bridesmaid and never being the bride, and now they're going to be going to Copenhagen representing EMEA on the international stage, having overcome all of these rivalries which have constantly put them down at various points in their career. I'm talking people like Meg, I'm talking people like Team Liquid, who have always just gotten in above them, and now that's not the case. I love the fact that they committed to one roster for such a long time, and even when they realized they needed to make some changes, they didn't get rid of everyone. They kept some of those players. They really, believed in their coach. And I think it just shows such a commitment to development and a commitment to understanding the way to build a squad and give them time to build themselves and improve, because they were always clearly going to be something special at some point. It was just about utilizing that time they had available to kind of nail that in. I don't know. I'm really, really excited for this team. I'm obviously really stoked because I love seeing different teams get the opportunity to go and play on these international stages and see what they can do. I'm very excited to see what they can do. I want to see how someone like Coldamenta, now being in the roster, it could potentially make a difference for them in their performance on stage. We do know that from EMEA, they're going to be joined by Fnatic, and I know for a fact that Optic from NA are going to be going, but I didn't watch NA yesterday, so I actually don't know who else from NA is going, or even if we know. Let me Google real quick. Okay, wait. Liquipedia. Oh, wait, hold on. Liquipedia hasn't put anyone from NA on. I swear I saw it get tweeted. All right, well, I can't see because my camera's in the way. Either way, it's really freaking exciting that Guild Esports are going to be going there representing EMEA, and I'm so stoked for this organization who have just put in so much patience and development time, and really allowed this team to flourish, and just everything that they've been through, all those highs and lows, all of those like nearly getting there and not quite. This is a team that definitely deserves it, and I'm so stoked for them. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on Guild are. Are you happy that they got in and qualified for Masters? Were you bummed about Mech losing to them? I know a lot of people have had so much faith in Mech as a team ever since Masters 3 especially, but they just haven't seemed to be able to put anything really big together, and obviously political situations could have an influence in that, but ultimately that's not the Mech that we're used to seeing. Did you expect it to be this outcome in that game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. I have to run and go to a League of Legends event. Okay, sorry. Bye. Salute. Okay, Jesus.